So, Brad,
Yeah, buddy.
do you remember when back in the national championship game when Odell Beckham Jr. Was handing out cash on the sideline and everything was going on like that, and people were kind of getting nervous about it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got bad news for the national champions. They've put themselves on a self-imposed probation of 8 scholarships and a couple of other little things.
Odell, I got one word to say to you, man. You took your gene!
Took your gerb!
You know, Early, sometimes them football boosters will provide your family with a car or even house if you keep nice and quiet about it. They're gonna do what now?
Welcome to the place where if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying is a way of life.
Just keep it down home, cuz.
Where degenerate gamblers can congregate in peace.
Money, yeah. Money, yeah.
Where screaming at 20-year-old kids on TV is just another Saturday.
Every fiber in your bone, and you take it and you beat the piss out of them. I'm talking about beat the piss out of them. Let's go whip their ass. Let's go.
Where game days don't end until the Rainbow Warriors say so.
It hits the upright. Oh my God! It hits the left upright. It hits the left upright.
They are the bagmen that Danny Sheridan never found.
I went to him with a strong-ass offer.
And it all comes to you with a splash of bourbon on the side. Woo! This is the Friends of the Program podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome in to yet another episode of the Friends of the Program podcast. I'm Brad. He's Drew as we get set to look into Big Ten football starting back. Hey, the Midwest, or the Mountain West is coming back as well. So we got late night football this coming week. More and more to watch. Less and less interest. It's still going to be fun.
It's still going to be fun.
Man, glad to have you guys along. We'll recap last week. We'll review this coming week as well and kind of get you set for the Big Ten coming back. We'll talk a little more on that OBJ story that we previewed in the cold open because we can't let that go, and a few other things too. Before we get going, make sure that you like and subscribe on all of our platforms via YouTube by searching Friends of the Program. Same for your favorite streaming platform, either Spotify or iTunes by searching Friends of the Program. Or make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter via FOT Podcast. Drew, how you doing, man?
Doing very well, sir. Got my since we're recording this a little bit later, I've got my Thursday night game on, ready to watch a little bit, but because it's a little bit of a lighter schedule as far as the girth of it, if you will.
There's a lot of games.
Yeah,
not a lot of good games.
The breadth is very nice. The depth is not very good.
But we'll get into this. There's a lot of money line opportunities for this week.
However, while there is not very much interesting, there's a whole lot interesting.
If you like to put a few bucks down, it's a real good week for football.
We're going to make it an interesting weekend for you, I promise.
What do you got on the on tap tonight?
On tap tonight, I already put it back down here. On tap tonight is a little bit of the Woodford Special. This is a cherry wood smoked barley.
Okay.
That it's a part of the Woodford Reserve Masters Collection. I have not let you try this.
I have not tried that. No.
But as you can see, there is still a good bit to go. This is all my pour this afternoon. So, so this is I believe this was a 2018 release. So we've tapped into that, and we're feeling pretty good.
I too have a new guy to break out tonight. This is the Still Austin.
Oh,
it was recommended to me last week at the fine local liquor establishment. Mm-hmm. It is a local, obviously local here to Texas in Austin. Mm-hmm. Apparently, it's relatively new. They just started bottling this thing about 2 months ago. It's a little harsh, 98.4 proof.
Okay, a little hot.
Yeah, I think it's only aged a couple of years, and you can kind of tell. It's a little harsh on the back end. But it's got a nice leathery taste to it.
Okay.
It's got, you can tell the oak and the leather is there. I wouldn't say there's many fruit notes or anything like that to it, but it's a really good sipping whiskey. I don't know that I would necessarily go spend crazy amounts of money on it, but for $30 a bottle,
hey, that's a winner.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
So, no, that's on the level of a larceny or something like that as far as the spending money.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can never have too many sipping whiskeys.
Yeah, so gonna try that tonight. Take the recommendation from the guy at the place and see what happens.
Absolutely.
So let's get into last week real quick, and there's so many places we can start. There was Fun Belt football during the middle of the week that was wild and crazy with Coastal Carolina, Arkansas State back-to-back nights.
You called that.
I called the Coastal Carolina, baby, on the money line. On the money line. They are now ranked, by the way.
They are.
Which is awesome. BYU and Houston was pretty intriguing. Houston blowing a halftime lead and costing me a three-way money line parlay at 13-1 odds.
Yep.
I hit the other two as Wake Forest.
I always hate that.
Oh, yeah. Well, the nice thing is it came through first on the loss, so I wasn't like waiting in the last choke.
That is true.
But when you look at the scores on Saturday and you realize only Houston cost you,
except
then it starts to drive you insane.
Damn it, Holgo.
SMU and Tulane played a heck of a game as well during the midweek last week. But I think we have to start with the biggest game in the country, and that was in Tuscaloosa, where Alabama was on the ropes. In the third quarter, they were down, and then all of a sudden, the light flipped, and a 17-point victory for the Tide. Georgia gets completely shut out in the second half after being pretty impressive in the second quarter, because the first quarter was kind of a slugfest, a little bit back, not a whole lot of scoring, and then teams started going up and down the field on each other, but Alabama just asserted their dominance in the third and fourth quarter, and is anybody going to touch them in the SEC at this point?
No, not. I've heard people kind of come back and say, "Oh, I wish the Texas A&M game was later in the year," because I think Texas A&M has a shot now that they've played one game against Florida and looked decent against a Florida team that doesn't have a defense. And all of a sudden, Kellen Mond is this.
Yeah, Bama puts up 55 on Florida tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Or Texas A&M again. So
fair.
So I don't think so. As far as the SEC goes, I'm looking forward to that Georgia rematch because I don't see Florida giving Georgia much of a problem down in Jacksonville. Just from what I've seen from Florida and what I've seen from Georgia. Now I will say this. As far as Georgia goes, this does go into, and I don't mean to sound like I'm saying I told you so, but I told you so. Stetson Bennett is a good quarterback that will not win you a national championship.
He's a game manager.
He is and I want to put in just a step below game manager because look, and again, I know what I'm about to say, and it sounds like sour grapes, but it's not. It's me giving you football knowledge. He has beaten Arkansas, which, okay, good.
Yeah, that's proving to be a better and better win every week.
Yeah,
right
exactly. Now. It is.
Yeah.
He came back and did that. He beat Auburn, which what does that do for anybody?
That should be 1-3, if not for it.
If not 0-4.
An awful. They did go and beat Kentucky by 15. I can at least give them that one.
I can give
the other games. The other game that they won. No, Arkansas won that football game. Let's be real.
And then you turn around and I'm trying to remember the other Georgia game before Alabama.
They beat Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They beat Tennessee.
Which looks
like you're beating Auburn again. So, I mean, you're not giving me anything to really go, oh, he can go out and win you a football game. He can't. He needs that strong defense, and he needs about two more playmakers because inside the hashes, we've got a quarterback. Outside of the hashes, we don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to hit those sidelines. Stetson Bennett can get you to 8 wins, 9 wins this year, probably with Florida's defense just being atrocious and riddled with COVID.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you're going to go 9-1 and play Alabama again and get walloped again.
But they would play on a faster track. It's an indoor.
Yep.
Indoor.
Remember
stadium.
how fast Jalen Waddle was on Saturday? Add 2 more yards faster.
And I know we said this at the beginning of the year, but it's showing itself every week. If you aren't paying attention to Mac Jones, you need to be, because that dude could play quarterback. And if he wasn't sitting behind Tua for the last couple of years, he'd have been starting anywhere in the country.
Anywhere. I know 13 SEC teams that would take him as a starter.
Maybe Clemson is where he doesn't start.
Maybe.
And maybe
Ohio State.
not maybe. He wouldn't start over Trevor Lawrence. Okay. And Justin Fields, probably not.
Yeah,
but
probably not. But talk to Oklahoma. Do you think that they want a Mac Jones right now?
They would kill for Mac Jones right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no, while we're criticizing Georgia,
give Bama all the credit
for no good reason. Give Alabama the credit, because in that first half they sleptwalked, obviously, through the first half, or actually, excuse me, for the first 29 minutes and 57 seconds, because after that it was Auburn style field goal at the end of the half, which that deep down Nick Saban was just like, yeah, I gussed him. Yeah, this is what it feels like. Yeah, got him. Which, by the way, Alabama has a field goal kicker. Newsflash.
Yeah, that's odd. But they also haven't played the Iron Bowl yet. So
that's true.
I know it hasn't gotten to a big kick yet.
Yeah,
when you get to big kick situations, the Bama kickers just can't kick. Unless their name is Van Tiffin.
Yeah. So when you look at this, Alabama sleptwalked through the first half and then made the adjustments and went out there and dominated the second half of the game, to the point where it wasn't unwatchable, but it was damn near unwatchable.
I stopped watching after about halfway through the fourth. I tried to find another game that was actually, I watched more of this game. Florida State, North Carolina. It was where I was going next. I know we're kind of conference hopping, but I really want to talk about the best games last week.
Yeah.
Florida State, 24 points in the second quarter. They hang on for dear life. They get shut out in the second half, tried to blow that game, but they beat Mac Brown's boys 31-28. Florida State missed a couple of field goals in the second half, but FSU may have found something on offense with a running quarterback.
I think they have. I'm interested to see. I'm trying to remember real quick, just offhand, who the Noles have. Oh, Louisville. That's right.
That's one of my eyebrow raising games this week when you look at the lines.
You ain't wrong. In fact, I think we might be picking the.
I've got a different one for my own pick, but I do already have that game.
Oh, there's already cash on that.
There's already a cash on the money line there.
Yeah, there's already cash on that one and a couple. But I'm interested to see this weekend, because Louisville's defense wasn't good, and then all of a sudden they held Notre Dame to 12.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see that game, but I agree with you. I think Florida State has found something finally on offense.
That's 2 weeks in a row, though.
Exactly.
The second half against Notre Dame, they started playing very well.
So in that case, we have a full game, because we have the first half against North Carolina and the second half against Notre Dame, which is why I'm interested to see. Louisville's defense isn't that good per se, but
I don't think North Carolina's is either.
No, they're not. In my opinion,
they're not. Their defense is not that great. Remember, they gave up 45 to Virginia Tech a week ago.
Exactly.
I want to call out one person on North Carolina, though. Partially, I'm being a bit of a homer here. I called this kid's games in high school a couple of times while he was here in Central Texas. But he's a senior now, Bo Corrales. If you're not watching this kid at wide receiver, and he's going to get an extra year, and my gut tells me he'll probably stay and play another season, dude can play. He could ball. He's 6'3" on the outside, 4 catches, 141 yards, and a score last week. He's finally getting a chance to really shine in that North Carolina offense. Keep an eye on him.
Okay.
That kid can absolutely play.
I will make it up.
You mentioned the other game up in South Bend, so let's shoot there real quick. Notre Dame struggled, man, against Louisville. That was just ugly.
It absolutely was. I really don't know what to make of it, because on one hand, Louisville really hasn't held anybody for the most part, and they've been known as an offensive team, yet they hold Notre Dame, which is an offensive team as well, but only put up 7 points in South Bend. And I believe it was overcast and kind of cloudy, but it wasn't rainy. It wasn't nasty.
No.
So I'm very confused by that. So I'm interested. I'm more interested to see Louisville and see how Florida State reacts to them than I am Florida State on the other side.
I told you last week I was high on Notre Dame's offense.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, absolutely.
And I have no idea what I saw. And that game gives me no confidence for them this week, considering where they're going.
Yeah.
And they're going to Pitt, and that's one of our pick'em games later this week.
Okay.
But that's a game, if you understand the history of Notre Dame going to Pitt, the last 5 trips to Pitt have not been pretty for Notre Dame. They've lost 2 of them straight up as the favorite. And
yeah, it doesn't go well when they travel to the Quaker State.
Another, maybe the most insane game last week. That should have been the obvious bet the over that I've ever seen in my life, and I didn't take it. But we did get the money line. Memphis takes down UCF. UCF now 2-2 on the season. All right, Josh Heupel. You might want to get things going there. But Memphis scores 36 in the second half to win 50-49. UCF gets back down at a field goal range to try to win at the end of the game after Memphis scored, and then you get the greatest band celebration image of all time of the UCF or the Memphis guy in the stands humping the air, whatever the hell that was.
Hip thrust, baby.
Hip thrust. But then UCF with the awful field goal attempt to end the game. What do we make of the Knights, Drew? Because it's becoming a pattern that they're losing to competent football teams.
I think we're seeing the slow erosion. Let me take you back a couple of years, about 2 decades at this point. There's a national championship program. They play in the Rose Bowl. They beat the dog piss out of Nebraska. And they go on this run. They've got a great quarterback in Ken Dorsey. And all of a sudden they lose a game, and then they lose 2 games, and then it's 3, and all the way until it's 7-7, which for most programs that's fine. But for Miami, it's different. You're seeing a Larry Coker style line graph with Josh Heupel that is very scary, because while UCF and Miami are not on the same level, the fan base at UCF thinks they're in the SEC. They just do.
The overinflated sense of self is pretty amazing.
Exactly. So they enjoy being talked about on game day. They enjoy doing all this other stuff and getting the notoriety and going to the Cotton Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl or the Peach Bowl, and claiming national championships even when they're not in the playoff or anything like that. So if you start losing 2 or 3 games every year, you're not going to be the coach there very long, for better or for worse, whether that's fair or not. So I think we're starting to see a Larry Coker style, which again, fine coach, but not for
what they're looking for.
Exactly. Not for the standards or where the fans think they should be, or the alumni think that they should be at UCF. And I think we're beginning to see the trajectory go in the wrong direction, which is what I was afraid of for Josh Heupel.
3 SEC games I want to hit on before we shift to our focus to, we'll kind of use the last week's SEC games to get into the breaking news of Odell last night that came out, which and you know where I was last night. I had the great fortune, thanks to a joint adopted sister of ours, to go to the World Series last night and game 2, and it was an amazing experience. But I'm driving home at midnight, 1 a.m, and I hear 3 hours back from Dallas, and I hear on the radio that LSU has the suspensions with Odell, and just that cracked me up. We'll get deep into that in a second. 3 games that I want to hit on first, and you hit on it a little bit earlier. The Pit Boss up at Arkansas. They not only took down the Lane train, they shut it down. Lane Kiffin shut them out in the first half, 21 points in the second half. And then Arkansas with the amazing troll gif by the Twitter right afterwards.
With if you haven't seen that, jump over to College in Magnolia, look at the Boom Roasted.
Thomas the Tank Engine, man.
Everything in there for you to see, or just go. In fact, scratch that. Go onto your Twitter account and also follow Arkansas Razorbacks football. Just type that in to Google.
Follow us. We retweeted it. We retweeted it Saturday night right after it came out, folks.
Pretty much anything that the Miracle Worker Twitter people at Arkansas have done, because that's number 2. That's number, and I am, if I'm not upset enough for Auburn stealing a victory,
I want to see what gift they would have put out.
Exactly. I want to see the gift that they would have done for the Gus Bus. Oh my gosh!
And with Chad being down there now too.
Oh my gosh!
It would have been amazing.
So we missed out on that, but they made up for it with Thomas the Tank Engine and the pit boss as the conductor. Oh my gosh!
With the Tank Engine having the mask that Lane wears and everything, it was just
the
beautiful.
bandit mask. Yes,
it was beautiful. But anyway, Arkansas, are they a 4 or 5 win team?
I think. Well, hold on. Let me.
I never thought I would say that, but they
not
still
this year.
They still get to play.
Let's see here
this week.
Yep, they play A&M this week in Aggie Land. So now, wouldn't it be justice?
They still get Mizzou.
They still get, and they get Tennessee.
Ooh.
Yeah, you're talking. Here's their schedule coming up. Now, wouldn't this be justice if this week Arkansas takes down Texas A&M and Kellermond when they're riding high and doing
that's the most Aggie thing ever.
It is the most Aggie thing ever, which is why I think it might happen. Next week, or I'm sorry, in 2 weeks they get Texas A&M. 2 weeks. That's Halloween night.
Okay.
Halloween night on the network, the SEC network. Following that, they play Tennessee. Then they're at Florida. They get LSU at home, which maybe they'll play a freshman quarterback. Then they get Missouri, and then they go on the road to Alabama to wrap up the season.
They could win at least 2 more, though.
I see 2, maybe 3. If not 4.
If they take our Vegas Bowl spot, I'm going to be super pissed.
I think that they're better than the Vegas Bowl.
Good. I want to go to the Vegas Bowl.
And here's why I say that. I'm not sure if Auburn goes to a bowl game this year, really.
Everybody's eligible, man.
Everybody's eligible, but not everybody's going.
Well, understandable, but do you think they're going to turn down a fan base that travels and money?
Are we sure? Well, I know we're going to travel to it if they're in Vegas.
Oh, they're in Vegas. I'm on a plane tomorrow.
Or any other
I might not go to the game.
No, I'm not going to the game. I don't want to pay to see Gus.
There's a sports book. What do I need a game?
What do I need that for? They're TVs.
I'm sorry. Have you been to the Westgate Sportsbook and seen that magnificent beast?
What? Why would I go anywhere?
It's just crazy.
I have alcohol and I have TVs.
Speaking of Auburn, we got to hit on it.
Yeah, we do.
They lose to South Carolina for the first time since 1933 last week. Which is only like 8 games total, but it was always something fun to say.
But still, it's since Hitler was named Chancellor of Europe, Germany,
it is for South Carolina's first victory over Auburn since joining the conference in 1992.
Oh yeah.
Which it's funny, if you are of a certain age, you may not remember that South Carolina was actually not always a part of the SEC.
They were actually a member of something called the Metro.
They were independent for a while too, yeah. And the Metro,
and
the Metro had Louisville back in the day, and other
Georgia
teams.
Tech for a cup of coffee, I think.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But Auburn comes out looking great in the first quarter, like actually moving the ball down the field. Play calling looked solid. Defense was all over the place, and then just the wheels came off. Bo Nix was
the third quarter nap, as I've come to call it,
inaccurate. For whatever reason, you have a running back with 16 carries and 111 yards, and then decided to throw it 47 times, drop back over 50 times because you had to scramble and stuff like that. And Auburn does go down to South Carolina 30-22. And I know you and I are close to people in the program, and we got connections and things like that. And if you're hearing what I'm hearing, the buyout talk is getting real.
It's where we started to go a little bit last week. Just we went on the outside fringes of it. Hold where it's real easy to say, oh, the buyout's way too big. Oh, there's no way that they're going to touch that $21 million. After you win a close game that should have been a little bit wider. It's real easy to say that. It's much different when you lose a game that you were supposed to win on the road, and then you go on the road again, and then you look at the rest of the schedule and you say, that was our easiest game that we had left. Everything else is going to be tougher than that. What if we don't win? Mm-hmm. Because right now, Tennessee's the only thing that I see that Tennessee and Mississippi State are the only things that I see that are obtainable for Auburn. LSU maybe if Miles Brennan can't come back, because while we've joked about LSU just being terrible,
they can still score points.
Miles Brennan was going up and down the field against Missouri, and if they had half of a running game and offensive line, they beat Missouri, and that never happens.
Yeah.
But now with Miles Brennan and the lower abdominal, whatever, I don't know. But going back to Auburn, the angering part is that the offensive line wasn't bad.
The running game was fine.
The running game was fine. No, this boils down to, and I've been a Bo Nix defender for the most part, but I call it out when I see it. He's running from ghost. Mm-hmm. He has been trained. The thought process of starting a freshman is that he gets experience over that first year, and it is what it is. Well, you take what you can get. However, you now have a quarterback that's been trained to feel for the rush when it's not there.
Well, and let's be real here. And you and I, like I said, we talked to certain people and we see things. Name me a quarterback under Gus Malzahn's tutelage that has not regressed since he's been the head coach at Auburn.
The only one that even...
Maybe Nick Marshall?
Yeah, that's it. That's the only one.
But that was a concerted effort to throw the ball more in 2014 as opposed to running. Don't know. Because there were games in 2013 when they went to the national title game where they literally ran the ball except for 8 plays a game. I think that Arkansas game, Auburn literally threw it. Tennessee game, too. Both of them. They threw it 7 or 8 times the entire game.
There was no need to.
No. But I sit here, and you start seeing the patterns, and you start hearing the things. One thing I haven't seen, and that's a consideration that kind of hit me as we've been talking, is this the right year to actually make a change?
I think it is.
Well, and here's why I say this. Most schools aren't going to make a move this year because they're going to have the pandemic excuse, no practice. So for 1 year, you could be the biggest fish on the block biggest bully on the block, looking for a head coach and be the destination. And you got a pretty stocked roster for whoever comes in. I think knowing how our fan base is and knowing how our boosters can be, the money's there. Mm-hmm. Don't be shocked if Auburn ends up 3-7 if Gus Malzahn is gone by the end of the year.
It was funny because listening to Dave Pasch on ESPN, and they were trying to get eyeballs to stay on the game and everything. And Greg McElroy did a great job at color and everything like that. Pasch was fine. But he started off by saying the loser of this game is on the hot seat and everything. And I went, no. I mean, this game is not going to decide either coach's future, although it might have really enhanced Will Muschamp, because right now I think he goes into LSU this weekend.
Yeah, I think they have a really good shot at winning that football game.
As a little teaser. But I think that this was a must-win for Auburn just to calm everything down, just in case things got bad. Now you have zero room for error if you're Gus. You've got to make it to 5-5.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of losses still. I mean, pretty much everything's questionable except for Texas A&M and Alabama, in my opinion.
So I still have no faith in A&M past
I don't
October.
either.
Yeah, past October.
I have lesser faith in Auburn to do anything.
I agree. I will say
what Alabama's going to do.
I will say I still think Bama's the only guaranteed loss on the schedule.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
Just because I think Auburn's going to be Jekyll and Hyde the rest of the year. But there's enough talent on the roster to where they can jump up and beat anybody besides Bama on the schedule.
And plus, that game's at Jordan-Hare, where Bo plays pretty well for the most part. So I can agree with you there.
But yeah, it looks bad. But how does that reflect on these other two teams? Where Kentucky, for the first time in like 30 years,
since 84.
84. So 36 years to be exact, because that's easy. It was 1 year after I was born.
Yep.
Kentucky goes to Neyland Stadium, not only beats Tennessee, beat the hell out of Tennessee, 34-7. All defense. Like let's
the second week in a row.
For the second week in a row, it was all defense because Kentucky had, if I'm not mistaken, just slightly under 300 yards of total offense or something like that. Right. It wasn't much.
And it was a drop in the bucket for the most part.
Yeah, 294 total yards. They actually only outgained Tennessee by 7 yards in the entire game.
Oh, God. Good grief.
But which, by the way, led to, and I sent this text to you last night, the greatest call-in show for a coach's show ever for Tennessee last night or this week, where the coach or some random fan is yelling. We'll have to tweet this out to you guys, folks.
First time, long time coach.
First time, long time coach. Well, this team lacks discipline, and I can tell because you're taking penalties and not wearing your mask right, like the SEC says. It starts at the top, coach, and then we're sitting there arguing, and we're taking penalties on the sidelines. And I swear to you, folks, this actually happened on the Tennessee football call-in show, middle of the week, to Jeremy Pruitt. Go find it. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
but. Tennessee, they're now a couple of losses. They're about to take loss number 3 in a row and number 27,000 in a row to Alabama, which does not make the fan base up there happy at all.
Mm-mm. No, and as little as I try to listen to Paul Feinbaum, although it's gotten watered down since we were in college, the show is just not what it used to be.
Once you lose Shane and center point, man, you lose the whole thing.
Exactly. You still have legend, but what does that do for you? So if you're Tennessee, you're going to lose this weekend to Alabama, and that makes you 2-3. Then you get Arkansas after a week off.
Oof.
Which you need that week off to get ready for the pit boss. Then you go, listen to this 4-game stretch and see which thing is not like the others. A&M at home, at Auburn, Vanderbilt, Florida.
Ooh.
Yeah, at home. So I see maybe, again, I know that you're not big on A&M, but I have to go with what I've seen. I don't agree with it either. I think A&M's better than Tennessee. So I'll take A&M. I'll take Arkansas, even after a week off. I think they beat Auburn. I think they beat Vandy. And then I think they lose to Florida. I see a 2-3 down the stretch to make it 4-6.
Yeah, feasible.
So
and fair, yeah.
So,
totally
I mean,
fair.
You're talking about a team that going into how quickly fortunes change. On October 9th, they were riding an 8-game winning streak, longest winning streak in the country. And everything was coming up roses. Since then, nothing. But just do we have the right coach in Knoxville?
And that's a legitimate discussion happening right now. Are Tennessee fans already souring on Jeremy Pruitt?
After an 8-game winning streak where he beat everybody he was supposed to. He did his job. Yeah. All you can do is win games. And now you lose to Georgia and Kentucky real quick. You're going to lose to Alabama. It might get nasty if they lose to the pit boss.
Yeah, I think it could. And it wouldn't shock me if Arkansas wins that game when it comes up. So we had previewed. We're going to talk about this real quick before we get to this coming week. The most LSU thing you can kind of think of, which is win a championship, let's flash some money on the field in front of all the cameras.
During the game.
Right, no, after the game. Technically, it was after the game. Yeah, they were on the field shaking hands. It was after the game. All right.
Okay.
So
I'll take your word.
But LSU is going to lose 8 scholarships over the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., is barred from the program for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
How stupid can you be?
I mean,
you have to try?
We know the name of the show. We know the name of our show, and Odell, you derb, because that's our derb.
You got to learn to keep it down home, man.
Yeah, man, keep it down home, cuz. Come on, man.
Be smart.
Yeah, there are better ways to do this, and I know. Look, we're all on the same page. Players get paid. We get it. It's fine. Wait until you're going to be in the locker room, man. You got the cigar. Remember the GIF of Burrow smoking a cigar and impregnating anybody that saw it? Dude, remember that? That's Odell. Odell's back there.
The game was in New Orleans. You think those guys aren't going to end up at a strip club or a bar after the game partying that you can't slip them some money? Or the casino? God, the Sugar Bowl a few years ago when we played against Oklahoma, I literally, after the game, sat there next to an Oklahoma player playing blackjack.
Yes.
You could find these guys anywhere. It's not hard.
Not hard. Buy him a dancer at Down on Bourbon. There are plenty of them.
Whatever seedy club there is in Bourbon.
Yes. Do anything you want because the season's over. And you're Odell Beckham. Like, you can just say, oh, yeah, whatever, man. I bought it for me.
Yeah.
And he was just sitting there. That happened to me.
Use the stripper to convoy the money to her.
Yes.
And then, the stripper gave it to him. It's whatever.
Then it's fine. But no, it's the I've never seen a program or an entity that's in trouble go, we're going to do this to ourselves. Please don't do anything else to us. Because that's what LSU just did. They just said, we're going to do this to ourselves. Please don't hurt us.
Oh, man.
And I wouldn't be surprised if more comes from this from the NCAA, because that's very light for dropping two bones on the field.
It's just stupid. Be smart, man. Just be smart. It's
2020, man. Because this happened in 2020, remember.
This really is the damnedest year, man.
It really is.
All right, we're going to move on to this coming week. It is first week of Big Ten football, as we mentioned.
B1G.
It is the first week of the Mountain West coming back as well. Some action out that way. I will start in the Big Ten this week, and we'll start with a revenge game. It's not on our pick'em. I just think it's a fun game.
Okay.
Wisconsin hosting Illinois. Remember, Illinois, as a 24-point home dog last year, pulled off the upset. Lovie Smith going on the road.
This will be a fun one, and I will watch it because it's football.
This is Friday Night Football, by the way, folks. This is on Friday Night Football.
I'll be flipping back and forth between that and Louisiana and UAB. I'm not sure if you were going to mention that one, but I think that one's an interesting ball game in Birmingham as well.
I like UAB +3 there a lot.
I do too. I do as well. But you're right. This is going to be a bit of a revenge game. I'm interested just to see what Illinois looks like. What is this, year 3, 4, 5 for Lovie?
I think it's 3.
3. So I'm interested to see. We should start to see something like the nucleus has already been formed. So now I get to see the science fair project that they've built down in Champaign. This should be a Wisconsin easy dub. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have seen bigger lines than this fall this year, but 19 and a hook, that's a lot of points to lay. But I would, if this were a pick'em, I would be taking Badger.
Other game in the Big Ten I quickly want to hit on, also not in the pick'ems, but the bloodletting begins in the Big Ten Revenge Tour for pouting like babies. Nebraska. All right, you got your football. Have fun in Columbus. That's a 26-point underdog to Ohio State.
Hold on, let me get into character. It's not enough. It's just not enough. No, Ohio State is going to take Nebraska to task.
Ohio State might hit the 68 over on their own.
On the reverse FU tour. Because remember, the Patriots had the FU tour a couple of years ago after Cam Gate or whatever it was. This will be the reverse part of that because Scott Frost and his Cornhuskers ain't good. Meanwhile, most of the teams on their schedule, I believe, are good. Or better than Nebraska. So except for Maryland. Maryland's
and maybe Rutgers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they play Rutgers? I don't know.
No, they actually don't. I'm sorry. I was looking at last year. It goes Ohio State, Scotty, Northwestern. That should be a dub. Penn State, Illinois. That should be a dub. Iowa, Purdue, Mini.
Oh, God.
2-6.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nebraska. You wanted to play.
1-7?
You wanted to play, Nebraska. Hey, all right, here you go.
Line it up.
One other quick hitter. I don't want much analysis. Just a yes or no. Does Clemson cover 46 against Syracuse?
You're damn right.
All right, another 11 a.m. kickoff. Two other 11 a.m. kickoffs I want to hit on. This also not a pick 'em, but it's a line that I think you and I both raised eyebrows on. Auburn somehow is a 3.5-point favorite at Ole Miss.
It says something when Lane Kiffin this week, I don't have the actual quote, I just have what he said, or I just have sort of a gist of what he said. When he says, I believe that this is a week that my defense can get right.
I didn't hear that before.
You don't know how long I've been holding on to that. We've played Alabama and we've played Arkansas. This week is a week that we can get right.
Holy crap. Oh,
we've played Kentucky, we've played Arkansas, and we've played Alabama and Florida.
So, folks, Drew and I have texted about this already. Neither one of us are taking on. We're both putting Ole Miss on the money line.
Better believe it.
We're both on Ole Miss on the money line here.
You better believe it.
Wow. That's fascinating. All right, here's our first pick'em game of the week, and I think it's a pretty fun game. It's actually one of only 3 games all week that pits top 25 against each other. NC State goes on the road to Chapel Hill in the Triangle. They'll take on North Carolina. Carolina's a 15.5-point favorite at home over Wolfie.
Mr. Wolf, that's a lot of points because while yes, normally I would say, it's at home, it is what it is. Raleigh and Chapel Hill and Durham are literally
right there together.
Yeah, no, it's like driving from one side of Nashville to the other, or one side of Austin minus the traffic from another. So I think that's a little bit high. You said that this was a pick'em?
Yeah, this is.
I'm going to money line North Carolina, but I will take Wolfie in 15 points if you're going to give me all that.
I'm taking Wolfie. I'll take 15.5 in a heartbeat with NC State there. By the way, last week you went 2-2. I went 3-1, giving me a 1-game lead over the course of the season so far. But you did hit your upset special with our South Carolina over Auburn. Mine Houston game cost me.
Yeah.
Next pick'em game I want to talk about. Let's go to Fort Worth. Oklahoma and TCU after some bye weeks. Oklahoma a 6.5-point favorite, unranked for the first time. I don't know, since I was in diapers. It's been a long time since Oklahoma hasn't been in the top 25.
Even after that big Texas win?
Yeah, they're still unranked. Hey, man, Coastal's earned it.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking there. I'm not joking.
You ain't joking.
Coastal's a good football team, folks. Get on that Coastal Carolina bandwagon while you can.
Kicking that thing up.
But Oklahoma, a 6.5-point favorite at TCU. Remember, this is a TCU team that beat Texas on the road, and Oklahoma needed 4 overtimes.
Yes, they did. You know what? I'll go on ahead and do it. I've been wanting Gary Patterson to bring this team back to not even to where we had it back in 2013 and 14 and 15. You don't have to get me back there. Just get me to about 8 wins or an 8-win program in a normal year. And just they're only 1-2. I know that 1 win came against Texas, and everything else is just kind of Big 12. I'll take the Frogs money line. I won't be putting money on it, but I really could see TCU getting that dub at home.
I'm taking the Frogs 6.5. I'm not confident enough to play the money line though. I'll take the 6.5 in our pick'em though, but I won't play the money line at all.
No.
By the way, we're doing 6 games this week, folks, instead of 5 because 1 game got canceled with Cincinnati last week, so we're going to make that one up. A side game that is not in the pick'em, but one of these. There's a few games that raised eyebrows between Drew and I throughout the week when we text each other and chat about football. How the hell is Florida State an underdog at Louisville?
That's a fantastic question, and I love the fact that they are still an underdog.
I got them right at the beginning of the week at,
I did too.
At plus 170.
Oh, I did too. No. Don't misunderstand. The moment that you said, how is this a thing?
Yeah.
That I jumped on it before it even disappeared. No, in fact, you and I both a little behind the curtain action. We were both updating our website to see whenever the money line numbers hit, just so we could jump on as soon as possible. So there are a couple of parlays and a couple of straight ups that are being played here. This is my upset pick. My upset special.
Okay.
I'll go on ahead and take Florida State to get that dub. It is on the road, which is the only thing that gives me concern about this, but I just have not seen anything from Louisville to set, because FSU's defense is much better than last year. They're just a tick under Notre Dame. So as long as they travel well, I think I think Mike Norvell gets that offense humming now. I think they've had one half in the second half, one half in the first half. I think he kicks out the rest of the bugs and then takes it on the road to go. So I'm going to take Florida State, and I don't even need that 5.
You know me, I'm all over Florida State in that one. I love that game just straight up on the money line. Like we said, so I think there's 4 games this week on the money line as underdogs that just jump out. And we'll talk more about them as we go, which there's a couple, at least one of them is in the pick'em. The other one's not in the pick'em, but I'll hit on it right now.
Okay.
And that is, let me get my sheet up here. Actually, I'm sorry, we have already talked about it. There was a game against the spread that we're not going to talk about that I wanted to hit on. 2 of them, actually. Navy plus 14 at home against Houston.
Ooh. And
Wake Forest plus 9.5 at home against Virginia Tech. I love both of those this week as well. Back to our pick'em games, though. And we hit on this one earlier as, watch out. Notre Dame typically doesn't do well when they go to Heinz Field. Now they go play Pat Narduzzi after struggling to put up points last week. Pitt's a 10-point underdog at home. What do you see?
So I'm gonna if I have to go money line, I'm gonna take Notre Dame because I'm not gonna put just cash on a prayer and better odds. But I feel like that number's just a skosh high. Don't get me wrong. I think Brian Kelly could rally those troops, grab them by the face mask, and say, we're going to put up points today. While, again, just like I've got to keep reminding myself, it was 12-7 or 12-7 last week against Louisville. And this is a year where you have to put an NFL mentality in college football. It doesn't matter how much you beat the Bengals by or the Browns or the Jets by, just as long as you don't lose. And I think that I've got to remind myself that I'm in Sunday mode on Saturday.
Yeah.
This year. So I still think that point total is just a touch high. I think this is more like an 8-point game for 8-point win for Notre Dame. But it's close enough to make me kind of push it. 4 points here or there. I mean, in fact, you know what? I'm going to take Notre Dame and give the points.
Okay.
I agree with you, though, on all points. But I feel like Brian Kelly could rally those troops. I've talked myself into it, just talking out loud like I do. So I'll take Notre Dame and give up those points.
All right, let's go to the Big 12 real quick. One of the few games this week that pits top 25 teams against each other happening in Stillwater, where Oklahoma State is a 3.5-point favorite over Iowa State.
So let's see.
And I'm taking Pitt, by the way, the other game.
Okay. I was just about to say, I figured you were taking Pitt, but just wanted to be...
Pitt to cover, not to win.
Okay. That's probably the right call, but I feel like Notre Dame can push that to about a 12 or a 14 if they want to. So again, this is an Iowa State team that, since we saw them lose to Arkansas State, they've beaten Oklahoma in one of Oklahoma's losses. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are one of the last undefeated teams in the country, which
of the teams that played,
of the teams that have played. Yeah, I mean, Washington and Utah and Oregon State are undefeated too, but whatever. So of teams that have played more than one game, Oklahoma State is one of the last undefeated teams, along with FAU and Marshall, which will also take a loss this weekend because they're playing each other. But I feel like that number's a little bit too close. Maybe they know something that I don't know. Because don't get me wrong, Iowa State's a good football program. I love Matt Campbell. Love for him to be on the Plains. Hint, hint, wink, wink. If Luke Fickell and Billy Napier turn us down.
You know I want Luke Fickell.
I know you do. I had to throw that in there. But I just can't go against that mullet. I just can't do it. Again, love Matt Campbell, but I just feel like every third or fourth game, something, it's not him, it's the program. Just something with this Iowa State program that they can't keep stringing things consistency together. So I'm going to take the Cowboys, and I'll give the points.
I'm in the same boat. That line felt low to me. It feels like that should be 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
3.5 kind of feels like a gift. So I'm going to take Oklahoma State at home specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
One game not on our pick'em, just a quick one. Just don't have to give me analysis here, Drew, or anything. Mm-hmm. I just think it's a fascinating football game in the afternoon in that mid-range window, especially at a 6-point line. Indiana at home against Penn State. Remember, Indiana won 8 games last year.
It does feel a little bit low. I will definitely have that one circled on my Update Me Please app to make sure that I follow that score. Again, Penn State probably wins, but that's definitely a really interesting game to watch with the line information. Yeah. That's really interesting.
Also in that afternoon window is my upset special, not in our pick'ems, but give me the Missouri Tigers over Kentucky. Kentucky, a 5.5-point favorite on the road. They have not been playing good offense in 2 weeks, though. I know they've won big the last 2 weeks against Mississippi State and Tennessee. Their offense is not moving the ball.
Which is why I thought Tennessee would beat them. And then they turned it over 5 times.
I just like the way Missouri has been playing this year. Mm-hmm. They beat LSU. They played Alabama very well.
Mm-hmm.
I like Missouri at home a lot in this football game. I think they win it straight up. 2 games to talk about still. And actually, another one that I know you and I are both – you are definitely bullish on when it comes to a money line pick. Not in our pick'ems, but South Carolina, you think goes in and beats LSU?
Yeah, I do. Give me Will Muschamp because, and you're talking about. I heard somebody say last week that maybe 15 kids on South Carolina's roster get a scholarship at Auburn. That number is even less for LSU.
Yeah.
However, what South Carolina does and can do under Will Muschamp is they can make a game dirty and grimy and nasty, and that's something that LSU does not do well this year. In years past, that would be a thing, and they would play right into LSU's hands. However, this year, that is not the case. This is an offensive line that can't run the ball. This is an offense that will now have a freshman under center, more than likely. It'll either be one freshman or another. Which, by the way, do you know the stat line on the kid that's not? Oh gosh, I just forgot his name. Former Florida State quarterback, won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers.
Jameis?
No, won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers.
Oh,
Brad Johnson.
Oh yeah, that guy.
His son is actually one of the the freshman quarterbacks that will play this Saturday. The other guy is 6'6", 250 as a freshman.
Huh.
Just a big kid that doesn't know what he's doing. yet. He's probably going to be really good because he's going to LSU. But a 6'6", 250, just monster back there with a howitzer for an arm. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens there. But again, it's true freshmen. Like these kids just got done with prom if they could have gone back in May. So I'm interested to see that. But I think South Carolina wins this game. I love that South Carolina is getting 6 points because I took them on the money line. So better return for me if it turns out that I'm right, which I think I'm going to be.
Last two games I want to hit on, both of them at night. First one, the biggest Big Ten game of the week as far as ranked matchups go. This one, I think, is just all kinds of intriguing. Michigan goes to Minneapolis to take on PJ Fleck and see if the boat is still rowing.
Oh, that boat's rowing.
Last time we saw Minnesota, they took down Auburn in the Outback Bowl. Last time we saw Michigan, they got Alabama. So you can guess what happened there.
Yep.
It's interesting when you look at like the stats. Harbaugh's teams at Michigan do not do well against top 10 teams, but teams ranked 11 through 25, they tend to win. They were a 3-point favorite on the road against PJ Fleck and the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Give me them points. Give me the points against Khaki Jesus. Just give me those points. Let them wash over me and let me enjoy them because Minnesota's going to win this football game. That's just going to happen. I have no faith whatsoever in Michigan. While you are correct, against top 10 teams in the Big Ten, normally Michigan does well. Or against non-top 10 teams in the Big Ten, normally Michigan does well. But what does the Big Ten not have most seasons? Unless you're talking about Wisconsin.
A lot of mid-range teams.
Exactly. So you're talking about like a Wisconsin, which Michigan never really plays all that often. At least not in my head. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a Big Ten week-to-week follower. But I feel like that's a team that Harbaugh, at least, has not played a whole lot of. I know they play Minnesota every year, but PJ Fleck's in what, year 2, 3?
3, I think.
So they really don't have a chance to, like, they play Iowa, I think, but Kurt Ferentz has been there for 150 years. And he's up and down all the time. So unless Penn State's not having a great season, then you're talking about a Michigan team that can take on the bottom feeders of the Big Ten and just lose to either a Penn State or a Wisconsin or an Ohio State. And yeah, they look pretty good against the rest of the conference. They're about to find out how good Minnesota is, in my opinion, because this is a good football team.
All right, so Minnesota has only won the Little Brown Jug 4 times since 1967. Okay, and this is a battle for the Little Brown Jug.
Oh.
They haven't won it in Minneapolis since 1977. A 16-0 victory over Michigan. The last 2 times they've taken it last 3 times they've taken it, but all were in Ann Arbor. They're going to keep it home. Give me Minnesota straight up. Yeah. Row the boat, baby.
Row that boat.
Row the boat.
Row that boat. No, I agree. Completely agree.
I like Minnesota a lot here in this football game. All right, final game that we're going to yak about real quick and then let everybody get back to their lives. Cincinnati on the road taking on SMU. Cincinnati ranked 9, SMU 16. Cincinnati's game was canceled last week, postponed rather, against Tulsa. SMU's a favorite. 2.5 points over Cincinnati.
I know how much you love Luke Fickell.
Uh-huh.
I know. The line is right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ponies. If I know you don't know this about me, but as a former studio host for the SMU ISP Sports Network, I wish I had my hat right here. It's in the other room because I've been wearing that because the Ponies just keep winning. and I feel bad wearing my Auburn stuff when they look like trash. So I've been wearing my pony hat and my SMU on the back, and I've been riding with the ponies, and I think they're going to do it again this weekend. Welcome to the show as SMU goes 6-0.
I'm against you.
I
knew
where you were going.
I love Luke Fickell. I love what he's doing in Cincinnati, back-to-back 11-win seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think SMU,
and I agree. I completely agree.
I think SMU's been playing great football this year. But I think Cincinnati is that group of 5 team that could potentially sneak their way into a playoff. In this year of crazy years.
I think the winner of this game is that team. If it's going to be anybody, Cincinnati needs to win.
Yeah,
because they have a higher step up.
Yeah,
but you've got to tell me. You got to look at me in the eye and tell me that SMU going undie on a season isn't the best storyline in college football. I don't care if it's 30 years since. That's one of the best storylines ever. From a death penalty to coming back and being undefeated.
Now, if you want what I think is the layup of the week, the over-under is only 55.5 on this game.
Oh, it's going to
be... Yeah, that game's going to shoot the moon.
Over.
All right, well, that'll wrap up the previews for this week. Let's run a recap down of our picks just to give you a little taste again one time. We went 6 games deep this week with one of them getting canceled last week, but we're both on NC State plus 15.5 at North Carolina. We're both on TCU at home plus 6.5 against Oklahoma. I've got Pitt at home plus 10 against Notre Dame. Drew's going to lay the points. We're both like Oklahoma State and feel the line's a bit too low at home against Iowa State. 3.5-point favorites for Okie State there. We both like Minnesota getting 3 at home against Michigan. And we are split in Dallas as SMU hosts Cincinnati, and SMU is a 2.5-point favorite. If you're looking for money line plays or upset specials of the week, I'm all over Mizzou taking on Kentucky. Mizzou, a home team, and a 5.5-point dog. Florida State is Drew's pick. They're a 5.5-point dog on the road at Louisville. Folks, there are some interesting, intriguing, lovely lines out there this week to make some money on if you think like we do. So go out there, make us some money. Hopefully we can help you. If you've been playing with us all year, you should be ahead. Drew's 5 games up above 500 for the year. I am 7 games above 500 for the season. So not too shabby. That's with an 0-5 week for me in there, by the way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that was with a horrid week in there.
All right, my friend. Any final recaps?
Nope. If you this is definitely the one week where if you have to go to the pumpkin patch with the little ones,
yeah, it feels like
go ahead and do it. This is a cell phone. This is why cell phones were created. Just follow the scores. You really don't need to watch anything.
I feel bad we didn't even talk about Bama, Tennessee, but it's not going to be
again. Just like Paul Feinbaum said, is that really a rivalry?
Yeah.
You have to win a game. I mean, at least Auburn Georgia is still a game because Auburn's won in the past 5 years, but Tennessee needs to win in this decade before I care about this game.
Yeah.
So, no, this is definitely a cell phone. Follow the scores on your app. Go out with the family. Get all the brownie points that you can this week. Go out on a hike. Do a picnic. Do whatever you need to.
The rest of the way is pretty good
because after this week, things begin to ratchet up just a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm with Drew. I will say, this is also the first week you're going to get a shot to get that late night after dark action about 9:15 Central Time, 10 o'clock East Coast time. So finally some fun there as well. 3 games going on that kick off at 10:15 Eastern or later this week on Saturday night. So glad to have some late night football back, and can't wait for the Pac-12 to get started here in the next few weeks as well. Well, folks, don't forget to like and subscribe. As always, you can do it, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, on YouTube. Just search Friends of the Program. You can also find us on Spotify and iTunes via Friends of the Program, and on Twitter and Instagram via @FOT Podcast. For Drew McCracken, I'm Brad Tillery. Thanks so much for joining us this week. We'll be back again next week. We'll talk a little Halloween football. We'll also maybe start previewing the Breeders' Cup a little bit. We do like to talk ponies. It's almost time for the biggest weekend in horse racing of the year. I got to find some extra money to play with and figure out what my schedule's going to be like that first full weekend in November because, yeah, I'm going to be pretty distracted. Y'all have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers, everyone.